on with it. Yes, get on with it!
Hello, I'm Luke Hector from the Broken Meeple, and if you're new to this channel, then stay tuned to find out about cool games that you can add to your collection. And if any of the games in this list do take your fancy, then consider checking out zatu.co.uk and using my code TBMeeple5, where you can get 5% off any limit of board games that you purchase. Check out the link in the description to find out more. So now we're looking at my 60 through 51, and yeah, just about to wrap up the bottom half of the list, and be interesting to see which ones missed out compared to last year. But here we just got one new game again, same as the next couple of 10s are going to be, but we're not going to get to that new game for a little while. In fact, you'll get it at the very end. Every other game you have seen, and in terms of placements, for the most part, apart from a couple that have remained fairly steady, the rest have all dropped places, and let's face it, there's a lot of new games to come when we get to the top 30, so they had to go somewhere previously. But yeah, some cool games as always. So what do we say?
Get on with it!
My number 60 is down there, in fact, and I may do a solo play for this one at some point. In fact, I probably should. I say that about a lot of games. I'm trying to fit the content in by tapering my reviews a bit. But with this one, it's a solo dice game where it's one of those rare occasions where the theme just works. How the theme gets well integrated into this, I don't know how they managed it, but they did, even though it won't sing to a lot of people for obvious reasons, and that is Hostage Negotiator. Hostage Negotiator is a great fun game. I can get it done and dusted in 20-25 minutes tops for every game. Probably less if I've done really badly, but I've got all the expansions for this now. So I've got the Crime Wave and Careers in here. I've yet to try out Careers. I haven't had time since I got the Kickstarter for it, but with the Crime Wave you added more adversaries. You've got these little booster packs you could buy with different ones. And there's all sorts of different ways that you can play it. So your base set one may just have your generic serial killer, and it may have I think it has a guy who wants to get medical bills for his daughter and goes to desperate lengths in order to get it. But then when you add the booster packs in, you get a cult, you get a disgruntled CEO, you get these like strange twins or something that go up against you. There's all sorts of different styles of adversaries you can face, and they all have very different effects on how the game plays out. But even the game itself is good fun. You roll the dice, you try to play these cards in order to get conversation points in order to string the hostage situation out as much as you can, but it's not easy. I mean, the dice can hose you pretty well. In fact, like I say, I lose this way more times than I win it just because it does heavily rely on a bit of luck, but because the game is so quick, I don't mind. If it was an hour long and it relied on this much luck, it'd be more of a problem, but for a game I can get done and dusted pretty swiftly, you know, I don't mind a bit of luck. And it does create some good, tense, exciting moments when you're on that sort of like, take the shot, just before the last hostage is about to be killed off. Don't expect to finish this with a clean sheet, but hopefully you'll be able to finish. Hostage Negotiator, really cool 60. I forgot to mention that Hostage Negotiator had literally climbed a single place, so not much movement there. However, we're now moving on to, this one's dropped 13 places, but nothing particularly dangerous really about dropping 13 places when you get to this point. It's just not in the top half anymore, it's now in the bottom half anymore. A lot of that comes down to the complexity of this game, makes it harder to, I know some people are sort of like, why is a game that's hard to get to the table going to go down in ratings? For me, I have to factor in how often I want to get it to the table, despite the fact I haven't. It does play a factor. This is Argent the Consortium. Argent the Consortium, I pretty much play with a group of 4 or 5 people, and that's about it. We know the rules, we know what we're doing, and we can get into it and be really cutthroat against each other, and it works nicely. If I try to play this with other people, there is a lot to teach, and it can really go over people's heads, because this gives you a bucket load of options that you can do. It's effectively a strange sort of anime Hogwarts. The dean has gone missing, and you're trying to be the new dean of this magic school, and you've got a consortium of voters who vote on different criteria for who they want to bet the position. And so as you're going through the game, you're trying to find out what these secret people are actually voting on. Like, do they want lots of spells? Do they want this type of student? Do they want Lou to have a ton of mana, a ton of research, etc.? And you place your mages of different colors and different abilities on these different rooms, again, have different locations and different abilities, and you try and collect what you need and find out what you need. But It's a lot. I mean, you have got a lot of ways to play this. You've got magic items, you've got supporters, you've got magic spells that you can research. Each spell has about 3 different levels in it. You've got about 6 or 7 different spells, school spells that you can do. There's end around cards that you can pick up for bonuses. Oh my word, there's a lot in this game. And that is one reason it's dropping a bit, because it is quite a complex smorgasbord game. I mean, this is level 99 games, this is kind of their shtick. But when I get the right people together to play it, it creates such a great thematic experience. Everybody's making references to every magic related film and song and game that they've ever played. It looks great on the table. It's cutthroat as all get out though. I mean, you can really screw up other people with the spells you use, locking them out of rooms, nicking their position, but it brings that level of tension while creating what is a very thematic Euro game. Again, complex Euro games aren't a problem. If you make them really thematic, then it's going to sing to me like crazy. And this one still sings to me, even though it's a bit of a hard one to teach to players who haven't played the game before. Certainly, I refuse to play this 4 or 5 players if none of you have played the game before. You know, we're going to have a nice small game and I'll teach you the rules. But with the group that I know with, we can have 5 players and whoo-wee is it a blast. Argent the Consortium, definitely one to check out if you want a lot of options and complexity in your games. My number 58 has dropped 15 places, and I think from now on we're going to stick to relatively light games, mid-weight at most, but stuff that's a bit more pleasant for the most part in theme. At least I think so. Maybe 1 or 2 of them you might disagree. But this is a racing game on that shelf down there, and it's very light, very simple, and it uses one of my favourite animals in existence, the husky dog, and that is Snowtails. I love dogs, I love cats, but when it comes to dogs, I really like husky dogs. I don't know why, there's just something about husky dogs. They're just so, I just want to cuddle one up, I love them. But I've never been snow sled racing actually. I would love to go on a snow sled sometime. But the idea with this is that you have a track that you build yourself. You're on snow sleds, so you've got your 2 dogs in front of you, and you use kind of like, not deck building, it's a hand management system where you draw a certain amount of cards, and these cards have got different ratings 1 to 5 on them. You, before you move, dictate where the cards are going to go. You have to play at least 1 card down every turn, but the idea is that 2 cards go on the front 2 dogs as a kind of like speed increase, and 1 goes on your sled to indicate brakes. And if you play cards, you've also got to stick to the same number. So you got a few restrictions here and there. But what you do is you add up the 2 dogs, deduct the brake, that's your speed, and you move. Sounds simple, right? Yeah, 11 herbs and spices are wrong. With this one, because you're playing with 2 dogs, if you know anything about dog sledding, basically if 1 dog is faster than the other, it pulls you in that direction. Same goes the opposite way. So it's like this dog starts pulling further, I start drifting in this direction. And all the while you're trying to dodge trees, cliffs, take tight corners at various speeds, you know, ravines, all sorts of weird obstacles in your way. And if you take damage, you have a reduced hand. Take too much damage, you call the bar, you know what it's like. And it's a race to the finish line. But it just creates so much laughs, so many laughs on this one. I mean, the rules are dirt simple. I can teach you this game in 5 minutes. It really is that simple. But it takes a little bit of cunning to use your cards right. And yeah, there's a bit of a luck factor as well. You might just draw bad cards for when you need them, but it doesn't matter. It's so light, it's so fluffy. It's a dog fluffiness, but it just does a very nice job of just giving me a nice, I say relaxing racing game. I like racing games in general. I say this one is relaxing. It's got a relaxing theme to it. But yeah, when you're trying to dart around a corner and you're sort of like, you know, it's kind of like crazy, but it gets the laughs. Everybody just gets into it. And the only minor issue I have with it is that it has a slight runaway leader problem at times. But then I've had some catch-ups before where somebody's managed to pull it forward because the person at the front, you know, played the wrong cards and that. You can build the track however you like, so you can create different variations, short, long, crowded with corners and obstacles. It's a really neat game. If anything, I would love to have another like small expansion to it with more track tiles, maybe another mechanic thrown in, but honestly, for a nice, simple racing game, Snowtails is definitely one I love. My number 57 has dropped 17 places. No big deal because this one is still one I enjoy. I prefer to play it with the expansion, but I will still happily play the base set form only because when it comes to polyomino games, this is the one to pick. I mean, Patchwork is Patchwork on my shelf somewhere? I think it's in the other room, but you know, Patchwork's a great polyomino game. for 2 players only. If I need to teach more than 2 players though, and certainly even with a 2-player game, this is my pick, Baron Park. Baron Park is just a nice Zen-like polyomino game. Yeah, the theme is completely pasted on. I don't care, I love bears, so whatever. Who doesn't like bears?
This is none of bears!
But with this one, it's just dirt simple. You build up your park, you get the pieces, try and slot them in, cover the symbols, get you these tiles, put those tiles out, cover more symbols, get more tiles, fill up 4 bits of your park effectively, and then in the game. Count up the points, that's it. There's no complicated maths or do this multiplied by this, or if you get more of this than any other player, you get this many points. No, it's just simply add up everywhere where you see a number. And you can get objective tiles to add a little bit of variety in the game, but even just base set alone, it's just such a nice game, and I've had so much fun and so much success just teaching this to completely brand new players at events. Whereas like, I've not seen many games, what would you recommend? Would you know how to play Tetris? Yeah? Then how about this? And it just goes over nicely, and I can just teach it with them and have a good time. And if you can throw the expansion in, even better. You get these bigger tiles that you can exchange for that cover up like a ton of space in your park, but obviously are worth a lot of points. And you can also build a monorail. You have to really plan ahead for the monorail though, because you require the park tiles to be on specific points. But your entire strategy could just be based around building this ridiculously long monorail track across your park while also trying to fill it. It just adds a little bit of extra complexity for gamers who probably want a little bit more out of it, and I certainly do love it. Even though story in it is a bit of a annoyance. Why didn't they put a bigger... Seriously, what is it with Lookout Games and putting really bad box sizes? I don't know. But really great polyomino game, Baron Park. Still going strong. My number 56 is not the shortest mover actually. It's pretty low though. 4 places. It's pretty much dropped 4 places. It's in this 10 pretty much every year in fact actually, because it always just seems to sit quietly in the middle. This is another co-op game, and one of the oldest co-op games I remember playing actually. Not in terms of when it was made, but in terms of in my experience with games, when did I play it, and it still goes strong to this day. Requires a bit of a rules revision in order to get to it. The rulebook was not perfect, but it looks absolutely gorgeous on the table. Striking colors, and it requires such a good amount of teamwork while introducing a really cool theme, and that is ghost stories. Ghost stories, hard as nails, even though I can win it every now and again. I mean, I have managed to win it several times. It just requires you to play in the right way, you know, and I don't mean like in an alpha gamer kind of way. It's just that there are certain strategies and tips that you should eventually realize when you play the game. Don't rely too much on rolling for dice luck. Try and use the tokens and the Buddha statues as much as possible, but there's some tense moments with the ghosts coming in and flooding yourself. I mean, it's basically a tower defense game. You're in this middle grid of different village tiles that change every game in terms of their layout, and the ghosts come in from all 4 different sides. You roll dice in order to get the symbols to beat them back, or use tokens. Each ghost comes in with some different abilities. Some are harder to get rid of than others, and you've really got to work as a team. There is no Lone Ranger in this game. One person will not win it. All 4 of you need to work together. And to be honest, I think you can play this with less than 4 characters. Don't. Even if you're playing this solo, use all 4 characters, it's recommended. But certainly, it just kind of works. Besides just looking gorgeous on the table. And the artwork in this game, I think it's, what's his name? I can't remember. It's Pedro something. I'll have to get it up and I'll put it on the screen for you. But, you know, the artist with this game is so good. It looks brilliant. I think he even did a couple of tiles in the 7 Wonders art pack. You know, really good artist. But with this game, it just works nicely. It's one of those older co-op games I've played where I still get good fun now. I like to bring it out every now and again just to say, look, you've not played a co-op game? Well, there's a good chance we'll lose, but have fun anyway. And with those who know how to play the game, you can create some really good extended battles. Don't play it on the harder difficulties though. Really don't play it on the harder difficulties, because it's like the beginner difficulty is already hard. It goes up like several levels to what is called Hell mode.
We have such sights to show you.
Hell mode is like playing Doom Eternal blindfolded on its hardest difficulty with no sound. Yeah, I'm sorry, I want to play a game and enjoy it. Hell difficulty in this is just ridiculous. But, you know, play it on a normal difficulty and just have good fun with ghost stories. My number 55 has climbed 2 places, it's pretty steady, and it'll be interesting to see if this one rises more in the future or drops further based on the fact that I've recently got the Rise of the Empires expansion for it. This is Imperial Settlers. Imperial Settlers is the precursor to what was now Empires of the North, which is a tableau engine building game. From Portal Games, Ignacy Trzewiczek, and you basically take a civilization and you build it up with cards. There's a communal deck that you can pick from, but there's also your own personal deck for your faction, Egyptians, Aztecs, Atlanteans, Romans, you know, you name it, they've got them all now in this particular set with all the expansions. And you can play a really good solo mode in it, but the idea is that different buildings will produce some resources for you, some buildings will give you special abilities, some will convert stuff into victory points, and it's all about building an engine. Build the engine, get it going, and eventually get as many points as you can before the game ends in, I think, 5 rounds. Granted, I wish it was maybe a round shorter, and apparently with the Rise of the Empires expansion that you throw in, which takes you through a campaign style game, it is only 4 rounds, which is probably an improvement, but usually I play this game solo anyway, so I'm not usually too fussed about how long it can take with multiplayer. And certainly I look forward to picking out the Rise of the Empires expansion at some point solo to see what it's like. Whether it will improve the game for me, I don't know. Whether it will make it still drop further, who knows. But I still really enjoy this fairly clean, streamlined engine builder game because there's not a lot of rules you have to know. The rules themselves are not particularly complex. If anything gets in the way of it, it's the fact that because I've expanded it so much, there's maybe a few too many cards for each faction. You can just play it by having all the cards in one deck, and to be honest, that's all I do, but some people will deck build for this game, and I'm not a fan of wasting time trying to deck build my perfect faction for this game, especially when I'm not exactly an expert at it. So I do have a bit of a deck dilution problem here and there, but still really enjoy the game when it does come out. We're just going to have to see where it turns up next year after giving Rise of the Empires a thorough testing. My number 54 has dropped 9 places from 45, and this is a Bruno Cathala game from Fantasy Flight. This was another second edition game, in fact. I wonder how many second editions are on my list. I can certainly think of, there's at least 3, if not 4 on my top 100, which are basically this second edition. Well, sometimes you just need to bring out a revamped version of a classic game in order to get it into the limelight. And this one, the Dice Tower went on about it so much, constantly saying, oh, this game's amazing, this game's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Hurry up and release it again so I can play it. And eventually Fantasy Flight did, with this really nice set of components and artwork. And it's true, Mission Red Planet is a fantastic game. This is what people refer to as Citadels 2.0, where you have that role selection mechanic of choosing a character and using its ability and then taking your turn. Except here, everybody has the same 9 characters, it's just a case of when they get played at different times. But on top of that, you have the area control system of going around Mars, controlling areas in order to get resources off the planet for points. Game doesn't take that long. I mean, you've got 10 rounds, and before you know it, you're already on the second to last round. It's like, oh, blimey, yeah, I better get some more gemstones in order to get some points. But it's just a very streamlined game. There's not a lot of rules to learn in it, but there's a good amount of depth with when to use each card, when to try and fit them in the rocket ship, so the rocket ship's going to go to the destination you want. Even then, which cards have the other players played? So you think, I might be able to get away with this ploy because they've already used up their 3 and 4. That's pretty good. And then all the while, you're also being somewhat cutthroat to everybody else because you're sort of like kicking each other out of areas on the board, putting special scientist cards underneath that nullify certain places, or you know, cause like a little bit of a bluffing element, like I'm putting this under this one. Does that mean I've nullified it, or if I made it better? I don't know. You're going to stick around and find out. Cool little elements like that, but it looks gorgeous on a board. All the different colours of these little astronaut miniatures on there, like tiny little things, coupled with the great artwork on the cars, the nice like modular planet, well, not modular, sorry, the big board with the different areas of Mars itself and Phobos, the moon. It's stellar production for this game. I mean, it's Fantasy Flight, what do you expect? But this is Bruno Cathala doing what Bruno Cathala does best, designing really good streamlined games. And this is another example of it. Dice Tower were 100% right on this game. Mission Red Planet, fantastic. My 53 is a game similar to a game I talked about on a previous set of 10. From Portal Games and Ignacy again. In fact, you will see him a few times on this top 100 actually. And this one was basically the one that came first. I already mentioned First Martians. This is the original one. Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island, or whatever it was called. I think it was called that. Who cares about these taglines anyway? It's Robinson Crusoe. This is a brilliant thematic co-op game. Hard as nails, like supremely hard as nails. Most of the time you will die horribly. I swear Ignacy just has a thing about watching people die horribly in games.
I'm a man of my word.
Credit to him, this game is still good fun to play. You're surviving on the island in these different scenarios, anything from building a log fire to saving somebody that's about to drown off a rock face over there, like surviving cannibals, finding lost ruins, grabbing poachers, fighting King Kong or something. You've got some weird standalone scenarios when you get expansions to this game. And as much as I don't think you need to get expansions to this game, Mystery Tales was okay. The Cursed Beagle, whatever it was, Voyage of the Beagle, not particularly great in my opinion. Personally, I would just happily say, look, grab the second edition in its current form, base game, and that's all you need. Gives you plenty of scenarios, and then you can just pick up the occasional scenario that gets released as an add-on or a promo. And word on the grapevine is that soon there will be a kind of compendium list of loads of different scenarios that are going to be expanded for this game. Oh, that'd be great. Just give me more scenarios, give me more variety. Don't complicate the game any further, just give me the variety. But with this, you are trying to survive by finding food so that you can feed yourself, hunting down animals, building a shelter, surviving the weather, whilst also completing the various objectives of the scenario. You've got to build tools, like I need to build a spear, a spade, whatever. I need to go explore the island, which will be different every single game. Like I said, hard as nails, but creates so many good laughs. In fact, one of the funniest YouTube videos I've watched from the Dice Tower is a live play where they teach Sam Healy how to play it with Ignacy sort of teaching the game. Watch that video. You should be able to find it. It was from a convention a few years back, but it's hilarious the stuff they get up to and just how much they're having fun with Ignacy, just like poking holes at various stuff they're doing, or realizing that they're gonna die horribly. It's a really good fun video, but this one still really cool. Is it a bit hard to learn? Yes. Rodney Smith and the second edition rulebook are kind of going to be needed in conjunction for you to help learn this game. But once you get it in your head, really good fun. Solid co-op, 53, Robinson Crusoe. My number 52 has kind of shocked me actually. It's climbed 20 places. I'm not entirely certain how that's happened, but I think I've just got a bigger appreciation for the game. I've talked about it lots lately, and to be fair, I've played it quite a bit lately because some of the expansions that have come out for this game, the new maps, shall we say, have really been pretty solid. So I've got all sorts of different really nice maps to use, and yeah. Ticket to Ride. Yeah, Ticket to Ride is still a fantastic family weight game that goes over so well with all members of my family. They all loved it. I've tried different maps with them. My dad loves India. I personally love the United Kingdom and Pennsylvania box most, but then the recent Japan one was really good as well. There's just so many good maps that I can use for this game, and I will still, to this day, drum on the fact that this should be the #1 on Board Game Geek. This, or Pandemic maybe if you want, but seriously, this game has been an evergreen since 2004. I've had no bad luck trying to get people into the hobby using this game. Game cafes, this game is played so often either by people who know it well or by people just bringing their friends along to show them what the board game hobby is. It's a game that my family loves, and trying to get my family to like games is quite tricky in itself because of, my parents are getting older and the brothers don't know a huge amount about modern games, but they've enjoyed this one and I still love it. Got the huge crate full of Ticket to Ride stuff in there. I've got the Poland map in the other room. I've got the 10th anniversary there. I love Ticket to Ride. It does the job. This is why this should be #1 on Board Game Geek and not Gloomhaven. I'm sorry, come on. But enough of all that. Do I need to explain much about Ticket to Ride? You grab cards in a kind of rummy style, collect the coloured sets, play them in order to place your trains on the board, connect up locations in order to get points for tickets. Each map pack throws a different spanner in the works in terms of like an extra mechanic or a tweak, but they're really easy to implement. I mean, pick your poison. Do you like a location in the world? Pick one. I mean, Netherlands, you've got toll booths and money that you've got to deal with. Asia, you've got the mountains and this huge map and even a team mode. Africa, you will hate your friends after playing Africa. India, again, you will probably hate your friends, but it's a good tight map. The UK, you have technologies and different restrictions. It's fantastic. Japan, you've got the bullet train. Honestly, I probably should do a top 10 list ranking my Ticket to Ride expansions, and you know what? I probably will at some point. Whether it's a podcast or a live stream or an official top 10 once I'm done with this top 100, we'll see. But yeah, one or two people have asked me about doing a top 10 Ticket to Ride expansions or Ticket to Ride sets. I might do that, in fact. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not so surprised it's risen 20 places. I give it credit. I will still happily play it to this day. Ticket to Ride is great. 52. And finally, my 51 before I wrap up all my recording today. My throat's getting dry. And this is the new game on the list. You've recognised hopefully every single game I've mentioned so far if you've kept up with my top 100s in the past. This is the new one. And this is quite a big game in terms of its girth. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Some of the best gritty looking artwork I've ever seen. It's an adventure style game. I play it only solo. I don't see the point in playing it with multiple people. It's like, nope, this is a solo game for me. It takes the Arthurian legends and puts a dark, gritty undertone on it. While giving you some interesting mechanics, a really good story, and all the aesthetics to boot. That is Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon. There is a little bit of an issue I have with the game, but I fixed it for myself with a house rule. I'll get onto that a bit later. But this one has you playing through as basically some relative nobody. You know, I think the way it starts mainly is that some friends of yours, they've gone off to fight in the wars and they've disappeared. You go off looking for them, and then the story develops from that point as you start interacting with characters from the Arthurian legends and getting into like scraps with different people, from diplomatic issues to huge monsters, finding Excalibur.
Strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government.
There's some really good stuff here, and I don't want to spoil any more, but it's just one of those rich thematic experiences with great miniatures for those statues. Again, more on that in a minute. And just a really good dark gritty tale. I really enjoyed this one as a solo game. With a caveat. Remember those statues? The, what are they called? The Menhir statues? In the normal game, they are a little bit frustrating. You have to activate these things in order to cross the map, and you have to activate so many of them with all the different resources that it's basically artificial padding of the game. And that gets annoying quite quickly. So that would normally bring this game a lot further down, but it remains middle of the top 100 because I've house ruled it. And people might say, how dare you house rule it? It's not the way the game was meant to be played. Yeah, well, I enjoy playing it this way, so whatever. But this house rule is that normally they have a certain amount of range and they require the resources to do it. Some people just extend how long they're activated for. Not good enough. You have to constantly do the zigzag thing in order to cross the map with them normally. So what I do is I simply say they're each +1 range. That's it. Just +1 range. So that they don't just show you the map card it's on and the one surrounding it. They also go another ring around it. That may sound like a lot, but this is a fairly largish map, so it's not exactly like you only have to activate 2 Menhirs to get across the entire map. And even then, you've still got to keep them on the timer, so I don't extend that. It costs resources, and the game is hard as nails anyway. I want to enjoy the story. But by adding that little house rule in, you'd be surprised how much that tedious padding bit is cut down. It's like the Dragon Ball Z Kai version of Dragon Ball Z, where they cut out a lot of the filler. It's basically just doing that. I'm cutting out the filler so I can enjoy the rest of the game. But even without that house rule, I still enjoy it. It just probably wouldn't make my top 100. But with that house rule in, I know it sounds like a small change, but makes a difference. Really makes a difference. Can't wait to try it with some more characters. Can't wait for the Wave 2 shipping part of it, because I ordered the whole lot. So I've got more campaigns, like a prequel campaign and a sequel campaign, whatever it is, coming in the post. So again, more content coming soon. Really do enjoy this one. Tainted Grail. And that's it for the bottom half of the top 100. Now, you know, by the time the next video goes online, I'll have figured out whether I'm going to live stream the top 50 or just the top 30. We shall see, time permitting, of course, and obviously feedback. But yeah, whew, a lot of good games talked about already, and we still got 50 to go. And this is where we get started into like the creme de la creme. Like, these are like really solid games. I mean, every single one. In fact, I would say we already got onto the games that I rate a 9 out of 10, a good 10, 15 games back or something. You know, yeah. I think from 70 onwards we were into games that I was typically rating 9 out of 10 and more, maybe with 1 or 2 exceptions, but definitely, whew, you know, as we go on now, every single game has been rated a 9 out of 10 from me, and sooner or later we'll hit the 10 out of 10. So these are games I absolutely adore. As for the next 10 though, looking on to the top half, 50 to 41, again, only one new game, but there's definitely a lot of big games, I think, in this next list, and for the most part they've been relatively steady with one exception, a couple of fallers. Oh, that's falling quite a bit as well. No, we're going to see a little bit of a shift in paradigm here, but yep, we'll wait and see for that video. So, that's it for today. I'm done with recording, so I'll leave you with the channel promotion, and I'll see you on the next video. Now, I thank you for checking out all the videos on my channel, but I'm not the only one out there producing content. I urge you to check out as many other channels as possible, preferably giving these smaller ones a break and giving them your subscription. So by all means, check out this channel and see if they're right for you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brian McDonald from Brains on Games, and I'm a psychologist with the practice that focuses on supporting kids who have learning disabilities and helping them to be successful at school. So I started Brains on Games as a way of sharing with parents information about the learning skills that are practiced by playing modern board games. So I don't do reviews of games, but I do overviews with the focus on the learning skills that those games require in order to be successful at them. So hopefully you'll come over and check out my channel. Brains on Games is on YouTube.
So that's it for me on this episode of the Top 100. If you liked what you see and have earned your subscription, please click the avatar button in the center to subscribe and hit the bell for future notifications. Until next time, you can check out the most recent content on my channel or check out the previous segment in this Top 100. Until next time, remember, it's only a game.